and welcome to this week's edition of Be Iconic. I'm Lisa Franklin, and no stranger to any of you is Dr. Udine Harry. Board certified in integrative and emergency care medicine, she has been delivering a healthy dose of truth serum to women across the globe. Author of 3 books, most notably the namesake of this show, Be Iconic. Welcome to the stage, Dr. Harry. How are you doing?
Good to be back as usual.
So today is actually a really good topic, and I know a lot of women struggle with this. The path to wellness seems so daunting, and so what's for you? What are one of the main recommendations that you give to women when they're starting from just ground one of all of the things and just looking at everything that they need to attack? How do they start that process?
Well, the way they start is to just think about it as taking one step at a time. Now, I've always heard this saying, like, how do you eat an elephant? And I'm like, why would you eat an elephant? But I understand what the saying is one bite at a time, because initially things look so huge. So let's say you go to your doctor and he's like, listen, things are not going so well here. Your numbers are pre-diabetic. Your blood pressure is a little bit high. You're going to have to, let's get a healthier lifestyle, or you're starting to feel draggy and not as energetic. And, you just feel off, and you know that you want to pursue something, but you don't really feel that you have the energy or the health to pursue it. So you're looking at everything, and you're looking at all these Instagrams and Facebooks and all these other things, and you're seeing people out there who, they're working out for 2 hours, and, they've got this great yoga routine, and they're so flexible, and you're thinking, there's no way I can ever do any of that. That's not the point. That's their journey. That's where they are. That's what they chose. Ultimately, for you, what you need to decide is, okay, what do I want to tackle first? So we know the pillars of health, right? So we know the pillars of health. And so we've got nutrition in there. We've got being active in there. We also have emotional health is really important. Our social health is really important. So if you start looking at all of that, you start thinking there's no way. But let's say you want to start with one thing. Let's say being active, for example. Ultimately, what you want to do is that you can say, you know what, I'm going to do 5 minutes of something a day. Mm-hmm. And that's it. You can check that box off and kind of build on that. So that's kind of what I tell people initially when they feel overwhelmed about the journey.
Yeah. It's funny because you and I were having this discussion, and, it's so many women, they hear the recommendation about, hey, you have to do X, Y, and Z, take all of these steps, do boom, 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 boom. Look at who's done it. This person they're the epitome of someone who has attacked all of it at the same time. And the reality of it is that, everyone has different buckets of stuff on their plate. And so to say that everybody's busy is sometimes is a little bit misleading, because some folks truly do, like yourself, or someone who is in, on the front lines, or you're in the hospital, it's completely different, than some of the other. And not to negate anyone else's journey, but, everyone has to become comfortable with where they are. For you, and I know that you talk about this, and this is kind of the preempt to your book, Be Iconic, but you talk about the moment that you felt as if you had to make a change. Can you just share a little bit of that and what that was like and everything that was going on in your life at that time?
Yeah, the moment that I felt, and people think, well, you're a doctor, you should know what to do, and you should know when you're being unhealthy and when your health is being threatened. But that's very far from the truth. Just look around you. You see how many physicians are struggling with weight themselves and all these other things. So they're putting a lot into things. For me, what happened was, it was crazy. Now I had 2 kids. One was a baby. I was commuting back and forth. My commute was about an hour each way. My hours of working, I was working 12 hours. This is a 14-hour day, and I was getting home. I had a baby, and there's all these demands, and I know you women out there can understand what I'm talking about, because there might be different labels on the balls, but we're all juggling a lot of balls. And so what was happening was I was exhausted, and I had nothing really. You don't feel like you're giving everything to everyone. And so you start feeling like, what am I doing? So you're draggy, and of course my labs were all normal. And so I was like, do I want to feel this way for the rest of my life? And that is ultimately the question. Do I want my kids to see me this way? I want to be able to be present with people when I'm with them. And ultimately it gets to the point when you do too much, you're honestly not present for anything. And so my journey actually had to start with the basic, was stress management was my big pillar. That was the problem for me. So I had to start there. And no, I didn't start off meditating an hour a day or any of those kind of things, because I felt like I can't really sit still long enough to meditate. I have things to do. This is a big fat waste of time. And so ultimately you start with one thing. You might start with relaxation exercises, whatever it is. And I'm going to throw in there as well, if you're having challenges knowing where to start, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy and figuring it out.
That's a good point about therapy. You know, I think back, especially women who we're type A, and so you're used to doing a lot, getting a lot done, checking stuff off your checklist, and you're used to setting a goal and achieving it. But when it comes to your health, it seems to be that line continues to move. I remember when my daughter got sick, and her hematologist oncologist was 2 hours away. So I'm driving 2 hours to go, 2 hours to come back. And ultimately, when she ended up getting a bone marrow transplant, I'm living in the hospital for 12, 13 months, not sleeping. Everyone knows who you've been in the hospital. People are in and out, especially when you're having a procedure like that where it's kind of round the clock care. And so I look up, and I am 38 pounds heavier than when I started. And you wonder, well, where did all of this come? But for someone who's used to achieving stuff, it was so daunting. And so even people would say, well, all you have to do, and you're just trying to get your brain back to real life, right? Because you lived in this for so long.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that shift of being okay with focusing on yourself? Because I think that's the other, there's a blocker for a lot of women who feel it's almost selfish at that point, because there's so many things on your list, and all of the other things have to do with other people and your families and your children and whomever that may be, but very little has to do with you. And a lot of people aren't okay with that. So can you talk a little bit about how you are able to make that shift with your patients of turning the corner?
You see, you said it, because ultimately as women, we seem to be just natural caretakers, and we want to make sure that everyone is okay. And we do tend to start feeling selfish if we start thinking about ourselves. We're like, well, the world is not okay, and this is not going well. So why in the world am I taking this time that I could be contributing to something else? And the point of the matter is, if you don't take that time to rebuild, to refuel, to regas, to whatever analogy you choose to put into there, you ultimately don't have enough to give to anyone else. And anything you give is not really, it's not you. It's kind of half-assed doing it, because you're not really there. You're not really present. And so I understand as women that we do have families and we have work. And especially you were talking about those of us who super achieve at everything. We want to check boxes, and we want to see that nice checklist going down that we have done all of these things. And at the end of the day, we feel so exhausted and say, we'll rest tomorrow. And tomorrow never really seems to come. And ultimately, though, ladies, this is where illness starts setting in. And so that Lisa spoke about her weight gain during that stressful time. That happens quite frequently. But illnesses start setting in as well, because weight gain can lead to diabetes. You tend to eat mindlessly. Your stress has been associated with so many things like heart disease, even cancers. So it's really sometimes that realizing that me stepping back and taking care of myself is actually me giving more of myself to those people that, and those things and those causes that I care about. Nothing runs without being refueled. It's just not possible. Even solar power things, the sun refuels them, right? So we have to take that step back. That's what I had to learn. That's what I really try to sit and speak with my patients about. And it's not telling you to drop all responsibilities. Of course, that's not possible. It's just telling you to find ways to support yourself. And that may be, again, maybe going to therapy. That might be the time that you're taking for yourself. It might be doing some little self-care things. It may be getting help to help you take care of some things that that need taken care of, and you can't be everywhere at once. So knowing, truly understanding where you are, and truly understanding how you want to show up for those people or those things and those causes in your life, that should make you feel not selfish at all when you take the time to refuel.
So a couple of things here. There is a saying that if you do something for 30 days, that it becomes a habit. So we are what we consistently do. Therefore, success is not just a task, but a habit, right? So let's break this down for everyone. First step, someone is coming to you and saying, listen, they're in Be Your Icon in your Facebook group. They're reading your book. They're in your office talking to you. I need help. I don't know where to start. Step one, what would you tell them?
Well, step one, I would say just really take a real look at where you are in your life currently. And what do you feel that you can start with? Like, honestly, what do you feel that you can start with? Because the truth of the matter is, I'm not going to get you to completely change your diet, start working out for 150 minutes a week, as is recommended for health. I'm not going to get you to meditate for 20 minutes a day and all at one time when you've got all of these responsibilities. So I would say, okay, is there 5 minutes that you can find in your day just to keep moving? If you're sitting at a desk, can you just make a conscious effort, like set a timer to get up every hour or so to kind of move around for 5 minutes? Because once you start doing these little things and doing them consistently, like you said, now you've made that change that you can build upon. If this challenge for you is nutritionally, you're not getting nutritious intake because of whatever reason, it's like, okay, why is that? Is it access to fresh fruits and vegetables? And we talk about, okay, well, let's start including some frozen fruits and vegetables because those are usually more accessible, right? Is it time? Okay, well, let's talk about how we can start planning so that, you can prepare things ahead of time. So then you have a to-go grab things. Is it that you have to cook for your family and they won't eat that? Well, the truth of the matter is that they will all they'll starve to death. But the other thing that you can start doing is just bringing in like one vegetable, like say, okay, every day we are going to have one vegetable with the meal. It's just starting where you are and truly taking an assessment and also giving yourself credit. Ultimately, what I hear a lot is, oh, that's not good enough. I haven't done this right. Oh, I messed up here. And we all mess up everywhere. But the truth is, when you start giving yourself and recognizing that you are making steps and that you are making changes, give yourself credit for it. Don't constantly criticize yourself by saying, oh, well, that wasn't enough. Yeah. If somebody who is constantly criticized, well, just stop doing things. And that includes you.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And for the ladies and gentlemen that are tuning in for the first time, I want to point out that Dr. Harry is also talking from a place of experience, not just from a professional standpoint, but a personal standpoint, and that you went through this journey yourself. And during that time, you had hair loss, you were lethargic, you just weren't, so all of this is coming from experience and understanding how hard the road really is and how to break free from all of those chains of thoughts that are in your head about what you can do. So we talked about step one. Step one is really identifying what you can do. You said it, is it that stand and stretch every 5 minutes? Is it, You're going to replace an apple with the soda that you might have next to you. The second thing is if you need an accountability partner, if you recognize, hey, I can do this a day here, a day there, but I really work out better, or I really, am able to achieve more with someone else, what are some of the ways that they can bring someone else into the process?
Absolutely, and that's a great idea, because study after study tells us that we tend to be more consistent with things when we have a support, we have some accountability, that we tend to be encouraged, inspired, and just really stick to it. Some ways that you can do that: if you have a spouse or someone that or a partner, you can bring them into it. Okay, and what I find actually is that couples do better. Like when I see the wife, and then she goes home, and then her husband starts supporting her, it's usually amazing, because then then he gets really into it, and it's really amazing. Other things that you can do: if you have friends, hey, I know this is a time where we're still social distancing, and we're still fully not back into everything, but you guys, you can walk together via some sort of a recording thing. You can kind of look at each other on FaceTime and walk together, kind of motivate each other, or just check in with each other and say, hey, you asked me to kind of check to see that did you do your 5 minutes, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the other thing that you can do, you can form groups, because groups who have a similar goal, unstoppable. So if you can find a group that has a similar goal to yourself, then join that group. And what you can do is encourage each other, because I can tell you, if you're having an experience, somebody in that group also has the experience, and together you can come up with something that works for that group.
So, what's interesting is that a lot of us in the work environment, we're very good at setting goals. And one of the strategies is around SMART. So those of us who are familiar with that. And so SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive. So I'm going to kind of take you through this, Dr. Harry, round robin, and have you give some suggestions for each of these levels. So the first is specific, making the goal specific. Can you give an example of a specific goal that someone could make right now to walk towards?
Okay, so it's really important to be very clear, and small, specific goals is what I'm going to say, because ultimately you don't want your goal to be like, oh, I want to lose 100 pounds. And that really leaves a lot of room for nebulous things. So your specific goal might be, I want to, by the end of these 2 weeks, I want to be able to walk 10 minutes every day.
Okay.
And there you go. And that is ultimately what you have a specific, you can check it off. You can say, okay, I did that today. I did that today. People like to see check marks. You want to know you've accomplished something. So don't make it too huge and grandiose, because those things usually cannot be accomplished right away. And so it gives lots of room for you to feel discouraged. And that usually doesn't help propel you forward at all.
So you just went into the next one, which was measurable. So your goals have to be measurable. Can you take that same goal that you just were very specific about and add a measure to it?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say, you're like, okay, I'm walking 10 minutes a day. How far can I go in that 10 minutes? Is it increasing? Yeah, because 10 minutes, you're like, okay, 10 minutes, I only walked X amount of distance when I first started out, and I was super winded and whatever it is. Now, by the end of 2 weeks, if you've noticed, like, hey, you know what, that went so much faster, and I've walked a greater distance. What that tells you is that you're actually now building up your energy level, you're building up your physical fitness. And so that's a way to kind of measure your physical fitness without getting intensely crazy. So now, of course, when you feel more energetic, you might want to add another 5 minutes to it and kind of compete with yourself a little bit, see how far can I go with this? And that I usually find encourages people to continue.
Perfect. All right. So now we're at attainable. Setting attainable goals might be the single most difficult and common mistake that people do. So how can you make that goal that you just talked about very attainable?
Okay, so it's how do you do it? So usually with that, you're thinking, okay, it's the time thing, right? So you're like, I don't have, it's like finding that 10 minutes. Why is it we can never find 10 minutes in our day to do something? But we get up to brush our teeth and all of that sort of stuff. So it's finding that 10 minutes. What I say with that, honestly, is schedule that 10 minutes. Schedule it. Have somebody call you up and say, hey, this is a walking time. Because you want to be able to make sure that you are doing it. If we kind of leave it to like, whenever we have 10 minutes, we're going to do this. You and I both know that doesn't always work, because the truth of the matter is something will come up that seems more important. And so then you're like, I can do that later, because it's kind of like this nebulous thing that you have. But if you have it specifically saying at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m., this is when I'm going to take that time to do that, then it becomes more habitual. It becomes a goal that you can see, yes, I can do this. I can do this because now, I've scheduled it. I've made myself. The first week or so, first 3 days is always a challenge. And you're always going to try to think of things, some other reason not to do it, because you're used to your previous patterns, whatever they were. So just doing that and having someone, if you need that extra nudge to make sure that you at 7 p.m. do, et cetera, recruit someone to help you with that.
Perfect. So now relevant. So making your goals relevant and personalized to you makes you more motivated to achieve them. So how can you kind of personalize these goals so you're not really aligning with someone else, but really with what works for you or what you do?
That's your why, right? Why am I doing this? Why do I care? Well, so the goals, make it very personal to you. Maybe you've always wanted to run a marathon. Maybe you just want more energy to engage with your children or your grandchildren. Maybe that's what the goal is. Maybe you have this particular passion that you want to pursue, but you're tired all the time. And quite frankly, you are just tired of being tired. Maybe it's because you've had some really bad lab numbers, like your borderline diabetes and the blood pressure, and your doctor said, listen, if this doesn't change, we're doing lifestyle first, and we're going to have to start medication. Maybe your goal is, I really want to avoid that if I can. So you want to make it something that's not, and I usually encourage people not to make it like, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to to wear this bikini, because you can wear a bikini anytime. But the truth is, when you make it that way and you get on a scale and you weigh because now you've made that your goal, now you're obsessed with it, you're stepping on the scale, it changes, you get discouraged. But ultimately, what you want to do is make it something that's really a passionate, like a why, like a why that literally changes the brain. That's the kind of why you want to make it. And so that's what, make it personal to you. So find something that really inspires you. And, believe it or not, more than a few of my patients, it was about running a half marathon. It's never made it to my why list, but I'm certainly excited to help them with that.
My why list, I love that. And so last piece is time sensitive. How do you make your goal time sensitive so that you have like a deadline and you're marching towards something? And you kind of already touched on this though. Yes.
You really, you want to kind of hold yourself to it. You can say like in a month, if you want to start doing that, in a month, I want to be up to comfortably walking for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so now you have a set time period that you want to get this accomplished. So it encourages you to be consistent, because the only way to really get to that goal is consistency, right? It's consistency. Most of us, if we're consistent, we can really accomplish anything, because that's really the key ingredient to success, is to consistently do something. And so when you set that time period for yourself, say in a month or so, I want to be able to walk 20 minutes comfortably or breathe comfortably, whatever it is, or run up a flight of stairs without losing my breath. whatever that is for you, whatever you've established, then that, I would say that's one way to do that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I hear you talking about is that everyone has a different path, different walk to this in this journey. But I like the part that you said when we were talking about, I think it was making it relevant, is that ultimately all of us will get to that point when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that right there is one of those mic drop moments, and you always throw those in. But I wanted people to hear that again. It's like you're sick and tired of being sick and tired and not really loving how you're feeling or look or how you're responding to other individuals because you're so stressed. Then you will start to see where those this process of setting the goals will seem a lot easier for you because you're ready. Dr. Harry, we're at time again. It always seems so short, but I did want to give you just an opportunity to drop that last gem for all of your listeners as they move into kind of taking that first step.
And you just said it, it's taking that first step and realizing that, you know, you're not going to be able to do it all at once. And that is okay. Don't make that an excuse not to start at all, because many of us do that. We look at it and say, oh, that's too much. I'm just not going to start because it's just going to be, oh. So you start just take one tiny step. And Lisa, you're totally right. Again, to reinforce, you have to be ready. Decide that you're ready and then just take that first step.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank all of you for tuning in this evening. As always, you can reach Dr. Harry and set up a one-on-one appointment with her at www.drharrymd.com. You should see the web address at the bottom of your screen. And also, you want that accountability partner? We're talking about it right now, about how to bring someone else into the fold, how to use individuals around you and build that tribe of individuals that are going to give you tips and tricks and what's working for them, all led by Dr. Harry. Well, then join her private Facebook group at Be Your Own Icon. Drop a note in the note section, in the comment section if you can't find it, and we'll give you an invite to that group so everyone has the opportunity to start today. Let's make a goal, everybody. Let's start November 1 at the latest. Start November 1. Let's put the date on your calendar. As always, it's time for us to sign off, but we'll leave you with this. Live, laugh, and be iconic. Until next week, have a good one. Bye, Dr. Harry.
Bye-bye.